Well, good evening. I'm Alan Jackson. Welcome to Nashville. There's a worldwide migration taking place. We see it in Asia, in Europe, in South America, and in our own backyard. The United States has been overrun with migrants, many of whom are here illegally, either by slipping over the border or by exploiting an overwhelmed immigration system. Well, change is at hand. President Trump is already making good on his campaign promises and is beginning to purge illegals from this country with a full-scale push. On his orders, the Pentagon is sending 1,500 active duty troops to the border, adding to the 2,500 that are already there. Congress quickly approved the Laken Riley Act. That includes rules for Homeland Security to detain and deport illegal immigrants accused of even minor crimes. Laken Riley was the young nursing school student murdered by an illegal. The border czar, Tom Homan, has launched raids in sanctuary cities to round up and deport gangs and illegals. The Wall Street Journal reports that Trump is going to grant additional agencies more power to get involved in deportations, including the Drug Enforcement Administration, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, plus the U.S. Marshal Service. The president said he was going to conduct the largest deportation action in American history, and he's following through on his word. Imagine that, a president who tells the truth and says what he means. Now, that's refreshing. We're fortunate to have with us this evening the former president of the Border Trade Alliance and consultant to the Undersecretary of Intelligence at the Department of Homeland Security, Nelson Balido. Thank you for coming on today, especially with all the news about the border issues.
Great to be with you, as always. Thank you for having me.
Well, I'd like to talk about the safety issues and the business issues, since the people you represent have suffered through both. In just a few days, Tom Homan has already rounded up hundreds of people who are here illegally. Federal authorities did the same in mostly liberal Boston, but one local rabbi is pushing back. He's telling the local TV station that sacred places, like his temple, are built for people to be safe, and ripping families apart is a violation of human dignity. Now, of course, he didn't say anything about the sexual assaults and the murders that have taken place. What's your opinion on this tension that will no doubt build in our nation?
Well, I'll tell you, I think there's certainly tension throughout the nation now. But look, we got to remember that when Trump campaigned over the last many months, he campaigned on a lot of these issues. This is not something where a politician goes into the office and then does a switcheroo, changes his tone, changes something. This is what people voted for. He campaigned on this time and time again in the swing states and every state. We knew what was coming. This should not be a surprise to anybody. He promised what he will do from day one, and he's doing it from day one forward, and we're seeing it right now. So, like you said, we have a president that has promised, and he's living out those promises right now. And certainly, this should become a no surprise to anyone. Are people freaked out? People, absolutely. Well, this is a disruptor. We're doing things different. But ultimately, it's to the benefit of the United States of America, because things have been out of control for 4 years. And now it's time to rein in the ropes and change a lot of things. And that's what President Trump's doing.
You know, when the rabbi in Boston spoke up, I couldn't help remembering, it wasn't too long ago, that there were some illegals deposited in Martha's Vineyard. And they certainly weren't welcome there for more than just a few hours. It seems to me that people have a bit of a sliding scale on where they're willing to welcome people and where they're not. Does it feel like that to you?
It absolutely is. I'll tell you, Pastor Allen, you see these things throughout all over the United States, whether it's Martha's Vineyard, whether it's Chicago, Illinois, including when Governor Abbott was sending buses to Colorado, especially Denver. Denver, they say that it's a sanctuary city. Well, guess where the first roundups happened in the last 24, 48 hours? Colorado. We're sending a very clear message on behalf of this government, and certainly my colleagues in the Border Patrol and in other agencies that I've worked with for years, that the buck stops here. You will comply, because you should comply. And again, this is what these people want. There's no surprise. The people of these communities want to be safe. They want to make sure that there's law and order. And all Trump is doing that, empowering the people that should have been empowered from day one and have been restrained back for over 4 years, and now are finally able to act and do what they're told, what we're supposed to do from day one, and their constitutional duties, which is arrest people that have gone outside the law and bring them to justice. And that's exactly what they're doing right now.
Well, one big arrest caught our eye this week. It involved the break-in of the Cincinnati Bengals quarterback's home. That's Joe Burrow. He's part of a string of sports figures who have become victims of criminal gangs. 4 members of a Chilean gang looked at the football game schedule so they knew when the players wouldn't be home. But when the Ohio State Police pulled these 4 over, they had fake IDs, tools to break windows, and they said they'd been traveling from New York to Ohio to see the snow. Well, I don't think they're seeing much snow from behind bars right now, but the intentionality of those gangs in preying on Americans is shocking, I think, to many of us.
It's shocking, but we're seeing this. These are criminal gangs that are operating within the United States, and you know, criminal gangs are border agnostic. They start all the way from the Patagonia. Well, they're all over the world, but in this case, they start from the Patagonia of South America. We've seen the Tren de Aragua gangs from Venezuela. They recruit all the way through Mexico, and then they get here. We've seen these issues. We've seen the stuff that's actually publicized. Now, we have a football player that was victimized. We've seen some video that apartments are being taken over. But Pastor, what about the ones that are not on video? What when you're not famous? How many hundreds of other victims are out there that are not getting told or not being front row on the media and are happening because of these criminal gangs? Well, guess what? Well, as you know, Trump said we're going to declare these trans-organized criminal acts and gangs, terrorist organizations. Mexico doesn't seem to like it. Other countries don't seem to like it. But that gives us the abilities to basically declare war on these problems and rid the problem. The problem, again, is not just in the United States. We got to get it from the stem. It steps from Mexico and beyond. And a lot of it has to do with China, with precursors and all the other things that they give these particular gangs to manufacture in Mexico and ultimately deliver to our youth here in the United States. Over 100,000 deaths per year with fentanyl crisis. These are disruptors, and there's a lot of bad actors, and these things will hopefully come to an end, like Trump said, really quickly.
Well, progressives are already crying out about how some families will be separated when the man of the house is deported. But as President Trump points out, the scale of dangerous people has been mounting. Take a listen to what he said.
We have terrorists in our country by the thousands. We have murderers in our country by the tens of thousands. We have numbers that came out, 11,000 people that murdered are now free and walking around.
So the progressive complaints leave out the fact that the entire family could all go back to where they came from if they're concerned about staying together. Am I correct about that?
You're absolutely correct. So the option is, if you have a U.S. citizen child, you can leave them with a U.S. citizen guardian of some sort, and the other people, the rest of the family gets deported. If you want to take your child, well, you know, we'll send them all back together. So there's a choice, but you're absolutely right. These are the ones that we know of. You got to remember that for a while we were getting up to 200 to 250,000 illegal immigrants going over the border. Now, these are encounters, Pastor. These are encounters that were counted. What does not count is the other 1,500 people per day that were crossing the border on the CBP-1 app, or the tax-funded flights coming in from Haiti, Dominican Republic, Nicaragua, and other places that were going directly into our cities and other places throughout the United States. Those are border encounters. And then the other 20% are the ones that are what we call gotaways. Those, we don't know who they are. We have no trace where they come from. And ultimately, those are the ones that are starting to cause havoc in the United States. Remember, you have these countries that emptied their jails. They're asylums. They said, you know what, this is your chance. Head north. They didn't share any data with us. We don't have fingerprints. We don't know what they did. So they come here with a story concocted and tutored by the cartel activity, the organized crime, and they come in, and our bar has been set so low for asylum. You know, all they have to do is say, hey, I want to claim asylum. They don't even have to prove where they come from. Why? Because 89% of the people that come into this country that are given asylum do not show up in court. Why? Because they do not have the data or cannot prove credible fear. So what happens is you've let millions into this country. We trusted them, and then 89% don't show up in court. Now they become illegal citizens, and these are the people that we're after. They have run out of their ability to go back to court or appeal. We gave them the ability to do it. They don't have credible fear. They lied to us. It's time to go back.
We need to take a short break here, where you can use the time to comment on this discussion and share your thoughts. Please send any of your ideas to comments@alanjacksonnow.com. And we'll be right back. Well, we're back now with immigration specialist Nelson Balido, who heads Balido and Associates after many years in the federal government working on border safety issues. Well, 22 states have already filed suit over President Trump's rollback of the long-held right of children who were born in the U.S. to stay in the U.S. Trump ordered agencies to refuse to recognize their citizenship if neither parent is a U.S. citizen or legal permanent resident. Well, of course, the 22 states are all run by Democrats. A judge today ordered a temporary restraining order on it. So how do you think this is going to play out?
Well, listen, I think this is going to play. It's interesting because this is going to be a back and forth ping pong table for a while, because they don't like to hear that. And they don't like to, now that somebody's actually said that they were going to do. And again, Trump ran on this. He said he would do this. So it shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. So there's two ways people come to our country and do this. One, they cross illegally or here illegally. And traditionally what happens is they have a child, and it's called an anchor baby. The anchor baby then holds back the entire family from deportation, because they don't want to have family separation, which I know that's going to be changing very soon and changing now. The second is you have people that come on a visa. They come legally into the country on a visitor's visa. The mother's already 7 months, 8 months pregnant. They get a hotel room. They get for an extended period of time. They have the child here with not an intention to stay in the country, but they leave only for an intention. So when they get their 17, 18, 19-year-old to come back into the country and go to college or go to high school or use the educational system. What happens there is that since there's no background on the parent, and they have never lived in the United States, now they qualify for Pell Grants. They qualify for all kinds of different programs, educational programs that really put a lot of our American children that have lived here and have residency here out of pocket, because they're taking advantage of the system. Those are the two ways that's happening, and it's happening every day.
Well, this is a real challenge for the new Trump administration. It's been 4 years with an open border. Jails are being emptied in some countries, and people have taken haven in America's sanctuary cities. Listen as the president explains that too may end.
What do you do, sanctuary states, by definition, or sanctuary cities? They're aiding and abetting in the law breaking. Okay, they're going to get federal funds.
Yeah. We're trying to get rid of them. We're trying to end them, and a lot of the people in those communities don't want them. You know, California is a big example.
Would you cut off their money?
I might have to do that.
So this is going to be a long process for Tom Homan and others in the Trump administration. Am I correct about that?
That's correct. It's going to take a while. It's going to take a lot of cooperation from state and federal law enforcement and the local. For those that don't want to participate, like some of these mayors, they maybe find themselves at the sharp end of the stick of the law, like Trump has said. So that's going to take a little while. But you got to remember why they do this. Why do they want more people coming to their country or to their area? The Census Bureau is just, every 10 years we count people in this country. And what happens is the more people you have in your area, the more federal funds you get. So they may not be able to vote, but if you can pack them in, you get more votes, you get more congressional seats, you get much more federal funding and representation. So if I can bring more people for almost nothing and they settle in my area, that means I'm going to get more funding from the federal government and also have more congressional seats. So they're stuffing the ballot in one way or another, if you think about it. So what needs to happen is what they tried to pass in 2024 is a law that basically says in the new administration or moving forward, when we do count you, we're going to count U.S. citizens. We're not only going to count illegal aliens. You're only going to get money, and you're only going to count it if you're a U.S. voting person, i.e., a U.S. citizen. If you're an illegal alien, you no longer get voted. This is exactly what's happened all over California. A very large percentage, 30 to 35, 40% of some of these populations are non-voting citizens. They're not citizens, and they're not allowed to vote. They're citizens from a different country. So those are things that need to be cured, and I think Trump is going to look at those things to solve this issue. And all of a sudden, these sanctuary cities will go away because you say, well, I don't want them here if I don't get any federal funding. So I think those things will change.
Well, Nelson Balido, thank you for being with us tonight.
Thank you for having me, and I always look forward to being on your show.
Well, I hope you come back and update us on the immigration front as things hopefully improve.
Yeah, well, hopefully. Well, I think every day it's getting there a little better. So we're seeing it week 1, and there's many more weeks to come.
Amen. Well, in a moment, I'll have some thoughts of my own to share with you, and later, your emails. We'll be right back. Well, securing the border is going to be difficult. Uprooting bad actors who are already here illegally, that's going to be difficult. Weathering the predictable storm of criticism, that's going to be difficult as well. But nothing worthwhile is ever easy. It feels to me that as a society, we have an addiction to easy. There was a whole marketing campaign not long ago where a major nationwide chain claimed to have an easy button. Everything was easy. Shop at our store, it's easy. Well, unfortunately, this addiction to easy is just as true in the church as it is outside the church. Well, I have an announcement for you. Those of you who are Christ followers, we have difficult things to do. God has laid out a prescription for us. He told us to put on the whole armor of God. You probably know the verse. It's Ephesians 6:11. It says, put on the full armor of God so that you can take your stand against the devil's schemes. Please note he didn't say so the president can or Congress can, but so you can, so I can. Here's the truth. The armor of God, it's not comfortable. Well, unfortunately, those of us in the 21st century, we want to put armor on that is comfortable. We want to sit in the comfort of our easy chair and enjoy our favorite snacks and refreshments. In truth, it seems to me we're far more committed to comfort and convenience of our faith. We want to go to church at the time we want to go. We want to sit in the seat where we prefer. We want to park in a parking space that's most convenient for us. We want to sing the songs that we want in the style that we prefer. I like the Navy SEALs motto. The only easy day was yesterday. We're going to have to get over easy if we want to go from where we are to excellence in serving the Lord. Let's pray that God would grant us the courage to choose Him where we've been reluctant. If we'll do that, I believe there are many more reasons for hope than despair, I promise. When we come back in a moment, we're going to come back with your emails. Thank you for taking the time to share your emails with us. Your thoughts and opinions, they're important. Wendy from Illinois wrote, Dear Pastor Jackson, I'm a disabled senior, and I wholeheartedly agree with the person who emailed tonight on Alan Jackson Now, saying your 30-minute show should go to 60 minutes. Well, Wendy, I thank you for your kindness. There's 2 things you need to pray for. One, that the network would make the time available to us, and then that God would provide the resources so we could pay for the time. If those things happen, we'll see you for an hour a night. And then Brad from Michigan, he said, thank you for your presentation this weekend about the importance of standing up rather than sitting in our recliners. How will we get this message out to more people? Well, Brad, you can certainly share that message. You can go to our website, and they're all archived there. But I really think the most profound and powerful way to do it is simply by word of mouth. Let's encourage one another, not just to be observers of church or attenders of church and survivors of sermons. Let's actually take those biblical principles that we know and live them out in our world. That will bring true change. If you miss any of our Alan Jackson Now programs, I want to encourage you to go to our YouTube channel at Alan Jackson Now, and you can see every program. We post them every evening. If you'll subscribe, you'll be notified every time a new program is posted, and it will help us gain a bit of momentum. Thank you for joining us tonight. We appreciate your time. I know it's valuable to you, and I assure you it's important to us. If you haven't yet, take a moment to send your emails to comments@alanjacksonnow.com. I'm Alan Jackson. You have a wonderful evening.